On the fringes of a bustling, mid-sized American city lay Willow Creek Estates, a neighborhood that seemed to have leapt straight out of Norman Rockwell painting. Broad streets, shaded by towering sycamore trees, wound through tidy cul-de-sacs where manicured lawns and VY Brant flower beds framed charming homes. On warm afternoons, the air buzzed with the laughter of children racing their bikes, the soft hum of lawnmowers, and the occasional wave exchanged between neighbors out for a stroll. Retirees pruned their azaleas, dogs trotted alongside their owners, and the faint scent of barbecue drifted from backyards. To an outsider, it was suburban bliss incarnate. But beneath this polished veneer simmered a tension that had been brewing for years, a tension that would soon erupt into a scandal threatening to unravel the community's idyllic facade. At the heart of this unease was the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, or, more precisely, its most formidable enforcer, Marjorie Hensley. In her mid-50s, Marjorie was a woman of sharp edges. Her ash-blonde bob was always impeccably styled, her wardrobe a rotation of crisp linen blouses and tailored slacks, and her piercing hazel eyes missed nothing. To some, she was the HOA's unofficial sheriff, a stickler for rules who could spot a slightly overgrown hedge or an improperly parked car from a block away. To others, she was the warden, a nickname whispered with a mix of dread and derision. Marjorie had a knack for materializing at the worst possible moment, whether you'd left a trash can out past pickup day or dared to plant a shrub that clashed with the approved palate. Her clipboard was her weapon, her bylaws her gospel, and her authority, she believed, was absolute. I'd moved to Willow Creek 6 years ago, lured by the promise of a safe, quiet place to raise my son, Ethan. The house was a modest 2-story with a wraparound porch, perfect for sipping coffee while watching him zip around on a skateboard. I paid my dues, nodded through the occasional HOA meeting, and kept my head down. Life was good, predictable, even. Ethan made friends. I swapped small talk with neighbors like Clara and Wynn and Tom Bradley, and we all pretended Marjorie's reign of petty tyranny was just a quirky footnote to our otherwise pleasant existence. That illusion shattered one crisp October morning in 2025 when a letter arrived, its HOA letterhead glaring like a warning shot. Mandatory assessment notice. Community Resilience Initiative, it read. Effective immediately, every household was to fork overdue Law $350 for a new fund to bolster Willow Creek's defenses against unforeseen crises, earthquakes, wildfires, or other catastrophic events. Marjorie's florid signature sprawled across the bottom, accompanied by a terse directive. Payment due by October 15th. Compliance is expected. I blinked at the page, incredulous. Willow Creek sat miles inland, far from fault lines or fire-prone forests. Sure, we'd had a freak storm a few years back that flooded a nearby county, but our biggest local disaster was the time Mrs. Carter's dachshund dug up the community garden. Due Law $350 from each of our 280 households? That was nearly due Law $100,000. And for what? I wasn't alone in my skepticism. That afternoon, porches across the neighborhood became impromptu war rooms. Clara, a sharp-witted paralegal who lived 2 doors down, waved the notice at me as I walked Ethan home from the bus stop. "This is nuts," she said, her dark eyes flashing. "No vote, no explanation, just pay up or else." "What's Marjorie playing at?" Tom, a burly mechanic with a penchant for conspiracy theories, chimed in from his driveway. "Bet she's buying herself a yacht. Disaster fund, my ass." We laughed, but the unease lingered. The HOA had low VY ed fees before due Law 50 here, due Law 100 there for a cracked sidewalk or a new gazebo, but this was different. It felt rushed, opaque, and suspiciously personal. The next day, an email from the HOA pinged my inbox. Reminder, Community Resilience Initiative payment due in 1 week. Late fees of due Law 75 will apply after October 15th. Thank you for your prompt cooperation, Marjorie Hensley, HOA Treasurer. Treasurer? Since when? I vaguely recalled the pre-VYS treasurer, old Mr. Grayson, muttering about retiring at the last meeting, but Marjorie's ascension to the role hadn't been announced. Now she controlled the purse strings, and this initiative reeked of her fingerprints. I called Clara. Did you know about this treasurer's switch? She groaned. Nope, but explains the power trip. She's got free reign over the money now. Clara's math was quick and brutal. Due law 350 times 280 homes equaled due law 98,000. That's a hell of a slush fund, she said. And no breakdown of costs? No receipts? I've seen shady contracts at work. This has red flags all over it. She'd served on an HOA subcommittee years ago and knew the bylaws cold. They're supposed to propose big assessments like this at a meeting, give us a budget, and hold a vote. None of that happened. Her voice hardened. We need to dig into this. You in? I hesitated. Marjorie intimidated Meher, icy stare could freeze you mid-sentence, but the thought of handing overdue law 350 for some vague resilience scheme gnawed at me. Yeah, I said. Count me in. The next HOA meeting, scheduled for mid-October, drew a crowd that spilled out of the community center's double doors. Normally, it was a sleepy affair, 10 or 12 regulars droning about mulch regulations, but this time, over 100 residents packed the room, their murmurs crackling with frustration. The board sat at a folding table up front. President Ellen Shapiro, a soft-spoken retiree, Vice President Raj Patel, a tech consultant with a perpetual frown, Secretary Lisa Monroe, who scribbled notes furiously, Outreach Coordinator Derek Sims, a laid-back landscaper, and Marjorie, perched like a queen, her stack of binders a fortress around her. Ellen opened with routine updates, leaf pickup schedules, a reminder about Halloween decorations, but the room's restless energy drowned her out. Finally, she opened the floor to the Resilience Initiative. Hands shot up. Tom went first, his gravelly voice cutting through the hum. Why do law 350? What's it buying us? Sandbags? A bunker? Give us something concrete. A chorus of yes rippled through the crowd. Marjorie adjusted her glasses, her tone clipped. The board, after consulting experts, determined this amount ensures our preparedness for any crisis. The funds will go into a dedicated account for emergency use. Clara stood, arms crossed. What experts? What emergencies? We're not in a quake zone or a wildfire path. And where's the vote? Bylaws say we get a say on assessments overdue law 200. The room buzzed louder. Marjorie's lips thinned. This was an emergency measure, authorized under Section 4.2 Board Discretion in Urgent Matters. We're still finalizing vendor contracts, so specifics aren't available yet. Trust us to act in your best interest. Trust? The word landed like a brick. Raj shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact, while Ellen's brow furrowed. Derek piped up, I don't recall voting on vendors, but Marjorie waved him off. Informal consensus, she snapped. Time was of the essence. I raised my hand, my voice steadier than I felt. If it's so urgent, why no transparency? Show us a plan equipment, Ser VYSS, anything. Marjorie's gaze locked onto mine, cold and unyielding. Details will come once payments are collected. We're negotiating bulk rates. Premature disclosure could jeopardize that. The crowd bristled. Clara fired back. I move we get a preliminary budget before anyone pays a dime. No accountability, no money. Applause erupted. Marjorie's jaw tightened, but Ellen intervened, promising a follow-up meeting once we have more data. The due date, however, stood firm. We left fuming, the air thick with distrust. That night, I couldn't sleep. Marjorie's evasiveness gnawed at me. The HOA had never demanded this much with so little justification. Was she skimming? Hoarding? I texted Clara. She's hiding something. We need to see the books. She replied instantly. Bylaws say we can request financial records. Let's do it. Section 7.1 confirmed its residents could inspect HOA finances with reasonable notice. I drafted an email to the board, copying everyone. Subject, request to re-VYEW Financial Records Community Resilience Initiative. Dear Board, I request access to all records related to the Resilience Initiative and the HOA's accounts for the past 6 months, per Section 7.1. Please add VYSE on scheduling. Sincerely, my name, Ellen replied within a day. We'll coordinate with Treasurer Hensley to arrange a time. Thank you for your patience. Marjorie, predictably, stayed silent. The October 15th deadline passed, and a new notice hit our doors. Final warning. Unpaid Resilience Initiative fees now incur a due law 75 penalty. Liens may follow. My mailbox held a personal violation notice, due law 425 due. Claire got one too. Tom, who'd paid under protest, grumbled, "She's strong-arming us." We refused to budge. A week later, Marjorie emailed me. Subject, document re-VYEW. I can offer limited records last quarter's ledger and bank statements. Resilience Initiative details are incomplete. Available October 25th, 1 p.m., HOA office. Confirm. Her tone was frosty, but it was an opening. I confirmed, nerves jangling. On the 25th, I arrived at the cramped HOA officia converted storage room off the clubhouse armed with a notepad and a crash course in accounting from YouTube. Marjorie sat behind a desk, her posture rigid, two binders before her. "Here's the ledger," she said, sliding one over, and bank statements. "The initiative isn't fully logged yet." Her foot tapped a tell. I pored over the ledger. Duas utilitias, pool maintenancial rutina. Then an entry caught my eye. Crisis Mitigation Consult due law 6,000, paid to Peak Resilience Group, dated September 20th. A week later, another. Additional consult due law 2,500, same vendor. Nearly due law 9,000, predating the initiative's announcement. I jotted it down. "What's Peak Resilience Group?" I asked. Marjorie's eyes narrowed. "A firm we're exploring for emergency planning tree removal, drainage upgrades. It might tie into the initiative, but it's not finalized." I pressed, "Can I see invoices?" She bristled. "Not here. I need to pull them. Another time, perhaps." Her evasiveness screamed cover up. After an hour, she hustled me out, claiming a scheduling conflict. Outside, I Googled Peak Resilience Group. No Thingyo website. No re-VYUs. Just a vague listing for a P.O. box in a neighboring town. Suspicion coiled in my gut. I called Clara and Tom, relaying the find. "Sounds like a ghost company," Clara said. "If it's legit, where's the footprint?" Tom volunteered to call the listed number, posing as a client. It rang to a generic voicemail, "Peak Resilience, leave a message," and no callback came. We dug deeper, scouring business registries. Then a hit, Peak Resilience LLC, filed 4 months earlier, co-owned by Marjorie Hensley and a Daniel Hensley. Her brother? Cousin? The pieces clicked. Marjorie was funneling HOA cash to her own shell company. We had the LLC filing, ledger entries, and her refusal to produce invoices. It wasn't ironclad, but it stank of fraud. Clara suggested a neighbor from Meadow VYEW, a nearby subby VY Shown, might know more. Marjorie had lived there years ago. I messaged him on a local forum. Heard Marjorie Hensley ran a business there. "Any details?" His reply was gold. "Yeah, she and her brother Dan had a landscaping gig Hensley Green. Dissolved it after a dispute, but Dan started something new recently. Shady lady, that one." Peak Resilience LLC was Hensley Green reborn, and Marjorie was double dipping. Armed with this, I emailed Ellen. Subject, urgent EVY Denke of fraud. "Dear Ellen, I've uncovered proof Treasurer Hensley is paying her co-owned LLC, Peak Resilience, with HOA funds under the Resilience Initiative. See attached LLC docs and ledger entries. This is a conflict of interest and possible theft. I request an emergency meeting." Clara rallied neighbors, and by week's end, the board called a special session for October 30th. Topic: Financial Concerns Resilience Initiative. The community center was a powder keg that night. 150 residents, standing room only. Marjorie sat stone-faced as Ellen opened. "We're here to address allegations about the initiative. My name has EVY Denke to share." I stood, voice trembling but firm, and laid it out. The due law 350 demand, the due law 9,000 to Peak Resilience, the LLC tying Marjorie to it. Gasps punctuated my words. I finished, and all eyes turned to her. She rose, defiant. This is nonsense. Yes, I co-own Peak Resilience with my brother, but those payments were for legit drainage surveys. I recused myself from final approval. Raj cut in, we never approved that, Marjorie. You said it was exploratory. Ellen added, you didn't disclose your stake. That's a violation. The room exploded. Fraud. Refund us. Marjorie floundered. The surveys were real preliminary work, but produced no proof. Ellen proposed freezing the initiative and auditing all accounts. The board agreed, overriding Marjorie's protests. Residents cheered. Within days, the audit confirmed due Law 9,000 to Peak Resilience, with another due Law 3,000 pending canceled just in time. Vague management fees hinted at more skimming. Marjorie was ousted as treasurer, ordered to repay the funds, and faced potential charges. Refunds rolled out to those who'd paid, and late fees vanished. Willow Creek exhaled. Marjorie retreated into her house, a pariah. The board tightened rules, mandatory votes for big assessments, full transparency. I joined a finance committee with Clara and Tom, guarding our coffers. One spring day, as Ethan skateboarded and neighbors waved, Clara grinned at me. She's repaying due Law 12,000 plus penalties. We won. I smiled back. Yeah, we did. The scandal faded, replaced by real community projects, playgrounds, storm drains done right. Willow Creek endured, stronger, because we refused to let one woman's greed steal our home. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.